agreed world bronze medalist last month in this event. So we could see a first Scottish medal at this Commonwealth Games. And starting out with their required dives, as you see in every synchro event. The harder dives come after round 3.
Yeah, if it's going to happen, it needs to happen from the front. So they are the first divers. They are going to be putting the pressure on the remaining 9 teams to follow them. I was delighted and surprised to see so many teams entered. The rules are slightly different, where you can enter 2 teams per nation.
Hamid Poutet and Nurdabita Sabri, both of whom have won silver medals already at this Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, this is a high-quality field, isn't it? I'm just looking down at the names and just reflecting on the successes that many of them have had in the individual events, in the synchro events, and here they are mixing it up in the mixed synchro to finish off. It's a bit of a...
It doesn't it like an exhibition gala of the medalists.
Exactly.
Team 2 for Scotland on the boards yet, but there's certainly big hopes for Scotland in the future. Back 1.5 somersaults, half twist in free position, 2.0 degree of difficulty to start off.
So as a reminder, the synchronized diving has 2 rounds of dives with fixed limited degree of difficulty, or fixed at 2.0, so it doesn't matter what dive you decide to do, you are awarded the same degree of difficulty. So this is where we see the very basic dives. There are other rules involved as well. You need to do 5 different dives from 5. These are the favourites.
Yeah, Shishin Lee with a silver and a bronze, and Maddie Keeney, who's got 2 Commonwealth titles to her name.
So here's the exception to the rule, if you will, so that normally you don't get a very strong male diver matched with a female diver because of the difference in height. However, Lee Shi-sin here is obviously a few times world champion, so he's incredibly strong in the men's event, but Maddie Keeney is so powerful. They did their first hurdle step together this morning. Jordan Holden stepping in last minute for the injured Matthew Dixon, and until this morning's warm-up they've never done any synchronized diving before, so
best of luck.
Fingers crossed. Oh, it's okay, isn't it?
Not a bad start.
Yeah, chatting to the coaches and staff, and they were like grimacing, saying, yeah, well, you know how strong Jordan is, and they've had no chance to kind of get to know each other, and you can't just not jump very high without compromising the dive.
She gets good height.
But Jordan is like so strong, and he's, you know, we commented on the individual event on that dramatic silver, how on the 1 metre for a bronze as well, he can get some serious height.
Now, Margot Earlham came 5th in the 3 metres last night, and Bryden Hattie, 21 years old, he came 9th for Canada.
To talk through the synchronization, you can see whether divers are in time or not, the differing distances from the diving board, the spin speeds, that's all taken into consideration. When you see the marks on the screen, the top line diver gets 2 execution marks, and then the synchronization bottom line.
So Gilbert Diem and Ng of Malaysia both won silver medals as well. It is just a cast list of the medalists from this Commonwealth Games. 3 metre synchro silver for both of these 2 for Malaysia.
So we can let the pitchers do the talking a little bit, which means that synchro marks are still 5 to 9. That would be what I'd probably like to see.
Dom Bedgood, one of the most successful Australian divers of all time, and Annabelle Smith, world bronze medalist from a month ago.
Both Australian pairs can stand on the podium.
They could easily.
Yeah. So even though England had the strongest start in the pool, the Australians are coming back now. A strong offering in this competition this morning.
Yeah, and don't count out James Heatley and Grace Reed for Scotland.
I don't think you can count out anyone at the moment. It's too much.
Maggie Squire and Fraser Taverner.
Well, they've got one of the best season. Least experience, both similar ages, early in their career. Plenty of development opportunities ahead of them. So they just need to do their thing to move into the climax of round one. One more pair to go. Team 2 from England.
Yeah, Deshawn Bent Ashmel burst onto the Commonwealth scene yesterday in the 3-metre, ended up 4th. Fantastic performance from the 17-year-old. And Ben Cutmore, he was 4th in the 10-metre synchro as well. Two young bright lights of English diving.
And they're very well matched. So Ben, of course, was up on the 10-metre platform. Ever so slightly out of time. Ben just a touch higher than Deshawn. But apart from that, that's probably one of the best this morning. Puts them right up there, rubbing shoulders with the best.
Dive for the young English team. Madison with a medal at the moment with Ben Cutmore. This next round of dives for world bronze medalists in this discipline, James Heatley and Grace Reed of Scotland.
Well, they look strong, of course. Only a number of weeks ago now, standing on the world podium in this event, so you have got to be expecting them to do exactly what they're doing, which is laying down the marker. Being actually opening up and going, okay, let's...
Now Sabri and Poutet are in 4th, but only...
Yeah, they are well matched, aren't they? There's no adjustments required there. They're both working at full capacity. No fudging of takeoffs and heights on the diving board needed. Just letting it happen. Yeah.
48.6.
Yeah, Sabri there's like always looks like, oh really? He's being awarded such good marks, but earning them every time.
Danny Mabbott and Clara Kerr, save dive for them. In fact, we'll see a lot of these reverse dives in Pike in the second round. Oh dear, that was way off.
Yeah, way off. Clara was really close to the diving board. Look at this.
And she did hit her hand, I think it caught on the end of the board, because look, she doesn't get the grab going into the water.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, if she did hit the board, the judges missed it. Well,
either way, I think she was fudging her hands to keep them away.
No, definitely, because you can tell. There you go, the coach is reassuring her, letting her know that, it's because it is a heck of a shock.
Now the leaders by just 1 point, but the hot favourites for this title, Xixin Li and Madison Keeney.
Okay, so this is what you see often in the mixed synchro, is that in order to hit the water at the same time, adjustments need to be made in the approach and the hurdle step. And as you saw there, it looked like Xixin Li and Maddy Keeney were going to be out of time. But actually, what they're doing is preparing to hit the water at the same time, which is what they do. And this is why I'm not so convinced on this event, because it's like, well, is that synchro?
It doesn't look like synchro, because the boards are going up and down at different points.
Yeah. So anyway, you make your own assessments.
But they've obviously worked out what to do, whereas these guys haven't had a chance to work out what to do.
What to do.
Jordan Holden and Yasmin Harper just put together this morning for Team England.
And to be fair, that's pretty good. You can't talk to each other, you can't say how far you're going to jump out, when are you moving your arms. It's all just set in motion, and then you just see what happens.
Both very talented, though. They've both got the technical ability.
And they're both at the same club, and they know each other, the same coach, Tom Owens, and, Nikki Smith also. From the same coach told me this one, she said, look, this could be, well, let's see. the fact that they've just gone, OK, let's do it. I just love that. Brilliant.
Bryden Hattie and Margot Ehrlichman 6th for Canada.
So, yeah. I don't really know who's a good match until we see the optionals, because it's a little bit easier to adjust on a required dive. But doing a 4.3.5, you can't like turn it down to 40% or whatever. You know, you've got to commit, and then you'll see some the cracks will appear, I predict, for some pairs. Others will be on the money.
And Gilbert Daim for Malaysia are down in 9th of 10.
Execution there from Gilbert Daim. He turns into a falling banana. Look at this. Into, and then he's out early. He's just like, oh, crunch.
Can't get those ankles up.
No, he dropped his toes too much at the start. Comes away with a 5 and a 4 for execution, which of course translates into lower synchronization marks because he made a right bodge job of that reverse dive.
Dominic Bedgood and Annabelle Smith, multiple global medals between these two. They're in 4th. They were adjusting as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were out of time all the way through until they hit the water. Now, I don't like this by way of a display of synchronization, because if you're just going to say, well, you need to hit the water at the same time and nothing else matters, then what are we actually doing here? So the judges need to take that into consideration. Even though they were the same distance from the board and hit the water at the same time, everything else was unsynchronized. So maybe it needed to be a little bit lower than that to give respect to the other teams who are actually doing everything in time.
And 50 points is the marker of a really good required dive, so 44.6 gives you an idea of that.
And that will be shy of that gold standard marker, which is a handful of teams that will get anywhere near that. For many of the reasons we've been reflecting on throughout these required rounds, and almost marking your card as the audience that come a few dives time when the requireds are in the rearview mirror and the optionals are on the table. That's when we'll see what's really going to happen. So the last required, round 2 completes after this pair,
who are currently in a tie for the silver medal position, 49.8, just fractionally short of that 50 marker gold standard. Forward 1.5 somersaults in pike. Reverse dive, my apologies.
2 out of 2 for Ben and Deshawn, who have done some training together. Again, marginally out of time, so you can see Ben higher up into the air, hitting the water. Deshawn ahead, so 7.5 synchro, 45 in total, sees them just outside the medal positions, but with everything to play for. And look who's top of the leaderboard.
It's James Heatley and Grace Reid of Scotland, the world bronze medalist, in a tie for that gold medal at the moment with Madison Keeney and Shishin Lee of Australia. The Malaysian first team have bumped themselves up to the bronze, while Ben Cutmore, Deshawn Ben Tashmel slipped down just out of the medals for now. Jordan Holden and Yasmin Harper in 7th. Danny Mabbott and Clara Kerr for Scotland in 9th. It's very bunched up though, very tight.
Standard after the required, as we know from all the other synchronized events, no different in the mixed. Everything starts now, really.
Yeah, this is where it begins to get exciting. The degree of difficulty cranks up. 3.0 for the joint leaders, James Heatley, Grace Reid of Scotland.
Inward 2.5 in the pike position. Good synchronization. Grace hits her feet on the diving board. Let's see if I missed that in real time. Thought she was tight, but she just clips her toes as she goes by. Let's see if the judges see that. They would have seen that she was close. They give her 5 and 5.5s. So got away with that slightly, I'm pleased to say, and I hope Grace's toes are okay. If she did hit, it looked like she did. We'll have to ask her.
Bit of a blink from Scotland there, chasing their first medal of this Commonwealth Games. Now Poutet and Sabri are in the bronze medal position at the moment, behind Scotland and Australia in a tie for the lead after round 2. Inward 2.5 somersaults, the same dive for Malaysia. 3.0 degree of difficulty.
Almost the same deal with Sabri this time. She looks really tight to the diving board. Have a look at this. Oh, like if she's to the side of it, then she misses. Let's have a look. She's to the side, so that's why she misses the diving board. Otherwise, she'd have smashed her toes into it as well. So the judges should, 6.5, 7. I think that's a bit generous, but that's a great dive, synchronization-wise. Okay.
Clara Kerr and Danny Mabbott in 9th. For Scotland, there's a lot of blue and white in the crowd this morning. Just 2.8 degree of difficulty. Scotland's second pair. Back 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
Well, you can see that we were a little bit out of time, they were a little bit out of time, and both ending up short of vertical. So the execution marks will be low because the execution for both divers was under par and the synchronization was off, so the marks will be a mixture of 4s for execution, 5s for synchronization.
There's the double bumps, the synchronized bumps of the Team Scotland coaches. Got synchro diving babies on the way. Shishin Lee and Maddie Keeney tied at the top of the standings after round 2 with Scotland's Grace Reid and James Heatley. Is this where they begin to pull away? They're red-hot favourites for this title for Australia.
Yes, it is. That is a play for the gold medal. Still plenty of dives, or 2 in fact, to go for this pair. Good synchronization. Execution is good enough as well, 7, 7.5, so they should come through with somewhere above 65, 67.5. Puts them just ahead of the Malaysians. 5 or so points ahead of James and Grace. So just edging out in front there, the Aussies.
Yasmin Harper and Jordan Holden, the scratch team for England, in 7th at the moment, with an inward 2.5 somersaults in pike.
Well, that's wrong on our list of dives, but it has been announced correctly. So that's a forward 2.5, 1 twist. So our paperwork doesn't correspond because of the late change in the entry. And I thought this might be the case. They haven't been in this position ever before to match these dives together. So that was a brilliant effort considering where they're coming from.
Just making some adjustments to my paperwork, having seen that now. Bryden Hattie and Margot Earlham, the only Canadian pair in this mixed 3-metre synchro final. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike.
So same dive, but you can see that they are a much safer match. So no big adjustments needed to get in time, although it wasn't actually that well timed. Average marks across the board.
Yan Yeaton and Gabriel Gilbert Daim.
See if they can use this dive to get themselves back up after a very large error on the required dive, sees them at the bottom of the rankings. Wow, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
much better.
Yeah, that rectifies a huge error on round 2. It's one of the best optionals we've seen so far. It's been mixed, to say the least.
It is mixed.
Wow. Mixed.
7.5s for synchronisation, that's much better. Synchronised chamois throw from Annabelle Smith and Dom Bedgood there. That bodes well.
Okay.
Hit the ground at the same time.
I was observing as well.
Will they hit the water at the same time?
That's the question.
They're in 5th at the moment.
Well, yes, is the answer to will they hit the water at the same time. Dominic just clearly finding that dive a little bit easier. Annabelle lower to the water. If anything, marginally out of time as they enter the water, but mostly in time for ace. That's one of the best, if not the best, effort we've seen in round 3 so far. So the second Australia team, I'm not going to call them a B team, but they are the second team there, as predicted.
Which is mad, really.
In the top ranking, I know. Up
World
in the top ranking.
and Commonwealth medals to their name.
Absolutely.
Fraser Taverner and Maggie Squire in 8th, doing well, the young New Zealanders.
Doing really well with that dive. The only error, really, from a synchronisation point of view, is the differing distance from the diving board. Maggie a little further out. Drive a family-sized car through that gap, I think. So the judges will penalise because of the differing distances, but they get 6.5s on the synchro. Ticking along nicely.
Maggie always looks so worried.
She does, yeah. Well, diving is quite worrying, so I can relate. Sean and Ben.
Yeah, now they were 3 points behind the Malaysians in the bronze medal position after round 2. So they need to keep up this high quality. They want to stay in touch with the potential medalists.
Wow, that's good timing. Sean a little bit ahead on the spin speed and into the water, but almost imperceptible in real time. 8s hopefully on synchro. I think the execution is around that as well. 7s for Sean, yes, and an 8 for Ben.
That's useful.
It is.
Let's have a look at that score then. Where's it put them? It's in a tie for the bronze medal position with James Heatley, Grace Reed, Ben Cutmore and Deshaun Bent Ashmallow right up there for Team England. Madison Keeney and Shishin Lee out in front, but just by 2 from the Malaysians. And Danny Mabbott, Clara Kerr, some big mistakes for them in round 3, sees them slip down to the bottom of the standings.
6 points separate 1st to 5th, which is tight. 2 dives to go. Lots can happen. The leaderboard has been jumping around a lot, hasn't it, in the recent diving competitions? Some more than others, of course, and I think this will be one of those.
It's been 4ths all the way for Scotland. Too many 4th place finishes. Can Team Scotland get a diving medal on the last day of competition?
If they continue to dive as they are, then that is all that they can do. This performance is equal to the performance they put in a few weeks ago now at the World Championships, where they stood on the podium. Forward 2.5, one twist. Do they get 8s? Yes, 1-8 and a couple. Yeah, that's really good. Just shy of 70 points again. Turn the screws. Let's see what happens. See if this team in particular from Malaysia, who are right up there in second, let's see how they respond.
And they're just a couple of points short of Madison Keeney and Xixin Li in gold. Okay. 3.1 degree of difficulty. This is the most complex dive we'll see performed in this event.
It's only 0.1 more degree of difficulty than James and Grace. And they swapped in the final round. So it's all very equal by way of degree of difficulty. The execution in the synchro, which is a little bit off on the synchronization. We can clearly see that Sabri is winning the race to the water, and it shouldn't be a race to the water. It should be crossing the finish line if the water is the finish line at the same time. So the synchro marks are compromised. There will be 6s, I would guess, on synchro. 7's a little generous. So Team Scotland are ahead of Team Malaysia.
Speaking of Team Scotland, Carrie Abbott, Clara Kerr down at the bottom of the standings at the moment. 2 18-year-olds. Inward 2.5 somersaults in tuck, 2.7 degree of difficulty.
It's okay. Clara a little tight to the diving board again. I know it's safe, but I wouldn't want to see it any closer than that, and so that makes Danny look further away from the diving board, which is where I'd like to see that dive performed from a comfort and safety point of view. Clara hit a hand as we think she hit a hand on the second round dive. So yeah, you do not want to be meeting the diving board once you've taken off.
Now it's the big dive for Maddie Keeney and Xixin Li. The forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1 degree of difficulty. In the lead, but only just a couple of points in it.
Ooh, so a little out of time. Remember their hurdle step was out of time, but then they adjust it to hit the water at the same time. That time Maddie Keeney was ahead of Xixin Li, and she stayed ahead of him all the way through that dive. Hitting the water just a touch ahead of him, and therefore the synchro mark 7.5. That'll still keep them top of the leaderboard, but again, they're not stretching away. They are very much catchable. And as I thought it might be, very difficult to pick and very, very close.
Jordan Holden, Yasmin Harper, back 2.5 somersaults in pike. 3.0 degree of difficulty. Now, this brand new pairing minted this morning.
Well, they're doing a great job. It's just almost like, what do you mean, coach? We've never done it together. Well, you just go on in and see what happens. I mean, brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. And they are holding their own. Look at that, 63 points. They're getting higher scores than pairs who've been practicing for months, weeks, and even years.
Good raw ingredients. Back 2.5 somersaults in pike.
Just outside the striking position, maybe, after the third round. A good one here could put them hovering around a potential Commonwealth medal. But it does need to be a good one. Well, and it is right on cue. Teed them up with an invitation. And they said, oh yes, we'll RSVP to that with a thanks very much. See you there. See you in the medal hovering position.
Is that a thing?
Well, it is now. It is this morning. Look at that, just shy of 70 points, and they do. They go up breathing down the necks of the Malaysian pair of Puteh and Sabri, who were leading at 1 point or equal.
They're up in a tie for the lead after round 3. Now and Gilbert Daim slipped away from the pace.
Kind of clawed away back in the 3rd round, didn't they? It was the required dive that let them down.
And this is the big one.
Oh, they certainly know the way around the optionals, don't they? If it comes down to the fact that they made a mistake on their required dive, they will be very upset, because that should not happen. Very rudimentary. Whereas this, there's a lot that can go one way or the other. And for this second Malaysian pairing, you can see by their smiles that they're happy with that, and so they should be.
Just having fun out there, aren't they?
Indeed.
Silver medals already for Malaysia to celebrate. And Dominic Bedgood and Annabelle Smith are in 5th. They're in the striking zone as well.
Yes, well, it seems that they're in tune. It's coming into the end. Dominic is ahead, but he's ahead for good reason, because he's got extra time in the air, giving them chance to hit the water at almost the same time and adjusting things accordingly to get that important finish.
Oh, they slip into 4th, but just by 2/10 of a point. 5/10 of a point, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more pairs to finish off the penultimate round in this mixed synchronized 3-meter springboard final.
And then I'll have to get my calculator out.
I might get mine as well.
Back 2.5 somersaults in pike for the New Zealand teenagers.
So synchro's good, the execution has let them down. Both Fraser and Maggie just leaving the dives incomplete, both really short of vertical. A double banana.
Just 47.7 to count for Maggie Squire and Fraser Taverner, who'd done some great work to move themselves up off the bottom of the standings. Now Deshaun, Bent Ashmail and Ben Cutmore,
So
just outside the medal. In fact, they were in a tie for the bronze with Grace Reed and James Heatley of Scotland, who've done a great job of their penultimate dive. What can Team England manage?
Oh, the best dive yet.
Great stuff.
Superb synchro, wasn't it, from start to finish. They've saved the best for now. When they need it the most, they're finishing on a back 2.5 pike, which maybe that's their favourite dive, but this is the belter. That's going to get over 70 points. Look at that.
Oh,
look where they are.
8.5s for synchronisation.
And so worth it as well.
And that puts them into the silver medal position, just a couple of points behind Maddie Keeney and Shih-Shin Lee, who are a world-class pairing. James Heatley, Grace Reed in bronze, but again, only just 3 points in it. And then Puteh Sabri of Malaysia. Annabelle Smith is also in there with Dom Bedgood.
So tight, look at that, just a few points separating. 10 points from silver to 6th. Okay. James Heatley, Grace Reed. They've saved their best dive, biggest dive until last. This is where history could be made.
Will it be a first Commonwealth medal for Scotland at these games? Both Grace Reed and James Heatley brought home the hardware from the Gold Coast. So far, so unlucky for the pair of them. Is that about to change?
Yes, it is. The luck has changed. I do not know what the outcome will be, but Grace and James can walk away, hold their heads high, because that performance is brilliant. They've held their nerve. They haven't been frustrated with them missing out on the medals. They've saved their best dive until last, and this is the marker, ladies and gents, 3:06. That should be good enough for a medal, but they need to wait for 9 more pairs to put in their best efforts as well. 3:06.
Great work by the world bronze medalists, James Heatley and Grace Reed. Will it be a Commonwealth medal to add to that? Puteh and Sabri for Malaysia. They're just in 4th at the moment.
So good! That's going to be, wow, they're going to be challenging for the medals as well. But first, let's see if they can match or close that gap that Scotland have put down. They'll probably be there or thereabouts. I'm hoping that they won't leapfrog Scotland, but they'll be close to 300 if they don't.
They need 77.16 from this. Oh no, they're falling short of that. 70.2
is good. That may be good enough for a medal, 299. So Scotland safe from the Malaysians' attack on their position.
Danny Mabbott and Clara Kerr down at the bottom of the standings. It's been a great experience. So many young athletes this Games, and these two both 18 years old, have lapped up the atmosphere and the support from the crowd.
Finishing off their campaign, just running out of room on a forward 3.5 in the tuck position there.
Yeah, 38.64. Danny Mabbott, Clara Kerr will stay down at the bottom of the leaderboard. Now danger lurks now for Scotland.
They need a good one, don't they? Well,
69.5 is the score they're aiming for from this dive.
Which
Forward,
means they need to be in time.
Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike. Scotland have laid down the marker.
And Australia have responded. It'll be tight, but of course they had their noses in front, so they needed to be in time, because that's where the lion's share is. She's in lead just a little bit further away from the diving board. It's going to be tight. Let's wait and see what happens. I think that might be enough. It'll be enough for... Oh, they're short.
67.5. They needed 69.5. They've come up a couple of points short. Scotland are in a gold medal position.
Oh.
Jordan Holden and Yasmin Harper are in 8th. Big ask.
Forward 3.5 in the pike position.
The big one, 3.1 degree of difficulty. Big ask for a podium place, though, this.
Well, the fact that they've managed to do their first ever synchronised dive this morning.
And at a Commonwealth Games.
Yes, at a Commonwealth Games. So they're stepping in, Jordan stepping in for the injured Matthew Dixon, who we hope recovers quickly from his lower back injury. Jordan, medalist already here, silver in the 3 metre and bronze in the 1 metre. Probably, missing out today, but understandably so. What a great performance as the stand-in. Yeah, appreciation from this, again, Monday morning. No spare seats. Brilliant. Packed auditorium. Aquatic Centre.
Well, Bryden Hattie and Margot Earlham are in 6th. Need a miracle dive to snatch the lead from Scotland's Grace Reid and James Heatley. Inward 2.5 somersaults in pike.
It's a good dive, but this pair will be somewhere middle of the table. So a few more pairs to go to complete this contest. The Canadians enjoying their time out there, but will be outside of the medals. I think it will be the same for this next pair as well, who were in 7th after the 4th round of dives, mainly because of their error on their 2nd round dive in the requireds.
So forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist for the Malaysian second pair to finish up.
Well, they finish up okay. An error in the 2nd round and a missed timing on that one will mean they are quite a way outside of the medals in this morning's competition. So the next pairing have a chance of a podium finish. There are some nervous athletes and coaches and officials and crowd. It's exciting.
It is exciting. They're in 5th at the moment, but the way the leaderboard is bunched up means they need just over 77 points from this final dive,
which would need to be absolutely brilliant. So
if they want gold.
Sure. Oh, it's so difficult to predict. I mean, it's going to be bunched up, but that is not, for me, good enough for the gold or the silver. But they could temporarily find themselves close to the bronze. They are out of time, so the Malaysians are there as well. I don't think that's good enough to catch the Malaysians who are currently holding the bronze. It isn't.
So there is going to be a medal for Team Scotland here. James Heatley, Grace Reid, top of the standings.
That's minimum of silver, isn't it?
Yeah, with 2 teams left to dive, and these 2 will not cause them any problems at all. Fraser Taverner and Maggie Squire, young New Zealanders, down in 9th. Inward 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
Just
so it's
completing their list of dives, really.
At worst, a silver medal for Scotland.
Team New Zealand finish off. And we wait nervously for the final pair from Team England, who are already on the boards as we watch the replays, and the scores for the New Zealand pair are on your screen, and all eyes fall upon the very young Ben Cutmore and Deshaun Ben Ashmeal.
They have gone toe-to-toe with some of the very best divers in the world, let alone the Commonwealth. Deshaun Bent Ashmeal, Ben Cutmore.
Big cheer, but this dive, well, let's wait and see. Back 2.5 in the piked position. It is 3.0, but because of the nature of the dive, easier to make an error on this particular dive. Now the gold and the silver are items, and it's a maybe on the bronze. The synchro is spot on. Deshaun just pulling the dive quite considerably over a vertical, which means it's going to be so close.
And you can hear the energy of the crowd. Only just outside the medals. A mistake from Deshaun Ben Ashmeal, and she hides her head in her hands. But Scotland have made history. Team Scotland win the first mixed Commonwealth diving medal, and their first at this Commonwealth Games. Grace Reid was the champion from the 1 metre springboard 4 years ago, and James Heatley One bronze also from the 1 metre. It's been disappointment for them so far. 4th place finishes all round, so close. But they've kept the hope alive and they've brought home the gold for Scotland.